So Jon Stewart made his triumphant return to The Daily Show the other night. Isn't it crazy that it's been 9 years since he did that show? I mean, time is going way too fast. It didn't feel like it was that long ago that he retired, but now he made a comeback. Now, to be clear, he's hosting it only every Monday night. He's the executive producer for every show, though. It's just that the other 3 days that they do it every week is going to be some other host. Apparently, the ratings were phenomenal. So he came back and they said it was 1.9 million viewers, which is the best number since 2018. So his return actually mattered. I was certainly excited about his comeback. I know many others were as well. I stayed up to watch the show on Monday. And look, man, he's good. He's good. He didn't lose a single step. He didn't even lose half a step. He's the same guy. It's like he never left that chair. Now, having said that, the reaction from, honestly, from everybody, every hyper-partisan online freak, whether it be MAGA world or it be resistance DNC type liberals, they hated it. They hated it. And they are pissed off at Jon Stewart. Now, why is that? Because his opening segment was about how, checking in, doing a health check on these two guys who are going to be the nominee for their respective parties running for president. And his whole thing is like, yeah, they're really fucking old. And this is really hard to watch. And this really is a race that no reasonable person, no sane person wants again. It's just not. And he went after Biden and he went after Trump. If you look at what he actually says in the segment, he doesn't do a full false equivalence and say that Biden and Trump are the same on policy or the same with their personal character, right? In fact, there was one shot that he took where he's talking about the Biden report, which basically called him senile. And then he cuts to a video of Trump not remembering that he said, I have the best memory in the world. But it didn't matter. Like, the little out of context clips that were then shared on Twitter led the resistance liberals to absolutely melt down. So let me show you some of the reactions here. Keith Olbermann said, well, after 9 years away, there's nothing else to say to the both sidesist fraud Jon Stewart bashing Biden, except please make it another 9 years. So because he dared to criticize Biden at all, remember, he didn't say it's 50-50 false equivalence, they're both equally bad, etc. He took shots at both of them, but I think it came across pretty clear that he views Trump as worse and a threat to democracy, etc., right? But because he dared to criticize Biden at all, this is Keith Olbermann's response. All right, let me give you some more here. There's a million of these you could find. Jon Stewart complaining that 2024 is two old guys again is like me complaining that it's two white guys again. It misses the point and minimizes the stakes. Well, if only you actually watched the whole fucking thing and were honest about what he said, maybe you wouldn't feel that way. Jon Stewart is 20 years younger than Joe Biden, but they look the same age. I'm just adding that to the discourse. 61-year-old Jon Stewart looked and sounded so tired and old, repeating tired old material from almost a decade ago. Definitely past his prime. Incredibly sad. The View also came after him. I've been seeing all sorts of resistance. Oh my God, how dare he go after Biden for his age? He's pointing out the most obvious things in the world to anybody who is not a hyper-partisan freak with brainworms. This is astonishing to me that anybody would have a different opinion. So, I give you all of that. The DNC liberals freaking out. Roger Stone also and MAGA world were pissed off because, of course, he got in some really good digs at Trump. But get this, guys. Even the White House had something to say. So to be fair, Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about it, and she hit back at the Daily Show's slam on Biden. Torches, quote, flatly wrong her report it was based on. She said, the president's going to stand and defend himself. The characterization, the way the report was characterized was not just me saying this. Legal experts on both sides said it was flatly wrong and it was gratuitous and it was inappropriate. So this is now, I've seen this now 4 or 5 times from different people who are close to the White House. They keep using this word. It's gratuitous. It's asinine. It's gratuitous. It was inappropriate. And it's almost like they had their meeting, they got their talking points, and they're all going out there and they're all hammering away at it. And basically the argument is like, well, nobody asked you for your commentary. It was supposed to be a legal thing. And legally speaking, you said no charges, right? So why are you adding any commentary after that? This is gratuitous. This is asinine. This is over the top. This is inappropriate, et cetera, et cetera. But you know what hit me? Listening to the reaction, the brain dead reaction of Karine Jean-Pierre and other people close to the White House and The View and all these resistance liberals. Guys, it's an unavoidable conclusion. The people who demand you must never critique Biden for any reason ever, they're functioning exactly like MAGA does now. This is exactly like MAGA. What's our main criticism of MAGA? Hey, man, it kind of looks like you're in a cult. It kind of looks like that. There were polls that came out which said, I would take the word of Trump over my mom and my dad and my daughter and my son and religious figures and my very best friend. You look at that and you go, oh, that is really cultish. And, you know, this is one of many things. He's driven the polls to change completely on whether or not the election was stolen simply by repeating it over and over and over. His people go, yeah, I guess I agree with him. I guess he's right on that one too. It's almost like a hypnotic effect on the people who like Trump. He has that on them. Now with Biden, you know, I didn't think that was the case at all. A lot of people who voted for Biden, it was just like, yeah, I'll do it because I think he's the lesser evil. Let me just get this over with, right? But the people, there's a certain kind of resistance liberal, blue MAGA, many would call them, that don't accept any criticism of Biden, even if it's the most obvious, like, yeah, he's really old. Yeah, he lost this step. Guys, he was giving speeches saying that he talked to a guy who died in 1996. Remember that? He brought up Mitterrand. He brought up Helmut Kohl. He told that story 2 times in one day, and that dude's been dead for a long time also. I'm sorry, but if you keep bringing that up, if you do an I'm not senile press conference, and in that press conference, you call the president of Mexico Sisi, when that's the president of Egypt and AMLO is the president of Mexico, what are we doing here? What are we doing? The guy has a 33% approval rating. The average is like 37 or something preposterously low. That is lower than Jimmy Carter territory when Jimmy Carter got waxed when he ran. Who does it help to shove your head in the sand and say, never speak ill of our dear leader? The point that Jon Stewart, they proved the point that Jon Stewart made. Jon Stewart's point was the fact that Trump is so dangerous, the fact that he's a threat to democracy, the fact that he's indicted 4 times and charged 91 criminal charges. Those things shouldn't make it so that you have to be less critical of Trump's opponent. It means you should be more critical because we want to make sure we dot all our I's and cross all our T's and give the best possible person to as close as we can get to guaranteeing a victory against somebody like Trump. That was his point. And what happens? The blue MAGA freaks come out and prove his point. That if you're not even allowing minor criticism of Biden, if you're not even allowing an honest discussion of what is, well, then you're setting yourself up for the fall. You're setting yourself up for if you lose, you're going to be shocked and stunned, but everybody else is going to be like, well, we told you this was going to fucking happen. The guy doesn't even know where he is, and his brain is melting. So I don't know, man. This is crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Look, I don't want any of you to take my word for any of this. I want you can find the segment on YouTube. Go find the Jon Stewart segment on YouTube. His, very first segment when he came back. Go watch the whole thing. It was not false equivalence. It was not both sidesism. It was not they're equally bad. It wasn't that at all. It was taking legitimate, comedic, satirical shots at both of them while also maintaining that, of course, Trump is worse, but trying to wake up liberals into realizing you're like tunnel vision and cult-like mentality might be the thing that actually allows Trump back in the White House. Guys, a final point I'll bring up on this. I find this a debate ender, to be honest. This is damning. When you run a, quote, generic Democrat against Donald Trump, the generic Democrat wins by 13 points. What's Biden's position in the average of polls against Trump? Biden is down 1.9 points. Now you might say, hey, 1.9, that's close. Biden could still end up winning. But in order for the Democrat in recent history to win, they need to win the popular vote by 3 or 4 percentage points. He's down 1.9. So really he's down 5 or 6 points. This is his argument. This is Jon Stewart's argument. For the love of God, if you run anybody else, we would for sure be done with Trump. Biden is the only one that maybe allows Trump to win. By the way, it also works in reverse too, just so everybody understands that if you run a generic Republican against Biden, the generic Republican wins by double digits. Trump's the only one that could make it competitive between those two. I don't know. Everybody's lost their fucking mind. Everybody except Jon Stewart, who's just as based as he always was. He's a truth teller. He's hilarious. He's funny. And by the way, let's be clear. The fact that these people are all pissed at Jon Stewart, the MAGA freaks and blue MAGA, that actually proves his relevance and how incisive he is and how good he is at his job. Because you know what? Trevor Noah did that job for a really long time. Nobody was ever talking about anything he fucking said. Ever. Why? Because he never said something edgy or incisive or the silent truth that you're not allowed to speak that he decided to come out and speak. Funny enough, that's why Jon Stewart picked Trevor Noah to replace him, is because he had done a bunch of edgy jokes and gotten in trouble. He offended people, but Jon Stewart thought he was funny and said, this is the kind of guy I want, somebody who is not afraid to go where other people don't want to go, right? And then what did Trevor Noah do? The second he got his ass in that chair, he became incredibly banal, boring, standard Democratic talking points. Like you could see the jokes coming from a mile away and it was all in the same vein. Well, Jon Stewart is staying true to Jon Stewart, and that's why he gets the views. So all these people can whine and cry and moan and shit themselves about how unfair he's being. But anybody who watches that with an open mind and reacts objectively is going to come to the inevitable conclusion that Jon Stewart is correct, Jon Stewart is right, Jon Stewart is funny, and everybody going after him has fucking peanuts for brains.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.